This week, 7 minutes past the hour, but it's time now for Keller at Large.
Here's John Keller.
Well, good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. I think you'll all recognize our guest this morning. He is the mayor of Boston, Marty Walsh, and it's always good to have you here, Mayor.
Sean, it's great to be here today.
I was going to introduce you as mayor for life.
No, let's not go there.
Are you mayor for life?
Day at a time. No, I'm focused on my job right now. There's a lot of conversations about, am I running for governor? Are you running for this? It's too early. The governor has to be sworn in and serve out his term. And right now, I'm focused on being mayor. We have a lot of big issues in front of us: housing, economic development, education, things that are important in the city. I don't look down the road.
Tell me the truth. Did you vote for Jay Gonzalez?
I look down the road.
Okay, let's.
I vote Democratic ticket.
Straight.
I vote Democratic ticket.
Okay. One of the things...
I was waiting for that question. I didn't think it would come up so early this morning.
You know, I mean, it did, and you gave your answer in a way. And
yeah, thank you.
And now the folks at home can make up their own minds. I'm not like Jim Acosta. I'm not going to argue with you about the answer. One of the big political stories of this past week, it was out of Washington, where Seth Moulton, the North Shore congressman, and a bunch of allies want Nancy Pelosi out as Speaker. She has to stand for re-election of that post later on this winter. And you know both the players. Who are you with?
Nancy Pelosi. I think that conversation needs to be held in caucus, not in front of the American people, not on national TV. The Republicans went through this over the last 3 or 4 speakers they've elected. They had this public fight. This is an internal fight, a conversation about who's best to lead the party. And if you look at Nancy Pelosi's record, when she was the Speaker, she passed over 300 pieces of legislation. She got health care done under her administration. And I think having this public battle doesn't gain political points, in my opinion. I think it's the wrong thing to do.
You think Moulton made a mistake?
I just don't think you bring it out in the public. I mean, you're talking about, she's the leader of the Democratic Party. He's a member of Congress. You have that conversation in caucus. You can have the fight in caucus. You can push in caucus. You can vote for another candidate in caucus. But you can't say that when it comes to the floor that you're not going to vote for the Democratic nominee to lead the body.
Speaking of the Democratic Party, let's look more locally here. Nico Elugardo, am I pronouncing that correctly? Yeah. Who beat Jeff Sanchez for the state rep seat in the primary this fall, gave an interview the other day. She called the state Democratic Party, quote, straight up racist. Says the party leaders spend too much time scapegoating Republicans and not solving problems. And she urged the establishment to, quote, get out of the way because the leaders who've been leading have led us down the wrong path, end quote. Any thoughts on what she had to say?
I mean, looking at Massachusetts politics, the legislature is supermajority Democratic. The constitutional offices, except for the governor's office, are Democratic. The congressional delegations Democratic. The 2 United States senators are Democratic. I think the role of the party is making sure that we have good, strong Democratic candidates that continue to run and move forward. And when you think about the results of that party, it's important. The Democratic Party does not get involved in primary races. When I ran for mayor last year, when I was running for election, you know, I reached out to the party, and what they said to me at that point is we don't get involved. It was myself and Councilor Jackson running for mayor. We don't get involved in primary, regardless who the incumbent is. So I think making a statement like that, I mean, that's something, I'm not sure what her experience has been with the party, and I think that it's something that as a newly elected Democratic state representative from Jamaica Plain, she has an opportunity to have conversations with the party to see what she might want to see change and agendas change.
Well, the party may not endorse in primaries, but you certainly do. You endorse Sanchez over her.
I did. Well, Jeff is a friend, and he was a chairman of Ways and Means, and the highest-ranking Latino in the United States in the legislature, in the country. So, of course, I'm going to do that.
Well, you endorse Mike Capuano over Ayanna Presley. I mean, are you
But I'm not the party.
Well, I think maybe she thinks you are part of this problem.
Well, maybe, but Jeffrey Sanchez is Latino. He's a person of color, you know. So Dan Coe, again, person of color, who ran up in Merrimack Valley for Congress. So there's been plenty of opportunities where I've supported different candidates across the spectrum.
Well, we got to take a break, but you also endorsed yes on question 1, the nurse staffing issue. That lost in the city 64-36.
It lost in the state, too, in a big way.
Yeah, it did.
You know,
well, my question is, you endorsed a bunch of losers. With all due respect,
they're not
are you a
losers.
little
Some
bit...
of them are good people.
Well, I'm not...
They're good people
they lost,
and issues.
They lost on Election Day.
It's okay.
Are you
Not
a
everyone
little bit...
wins.
Are you a little bit out of touch with your constituents? Are you worried about that?
No, I'm not worried at all. Not at all. I mean, I think that, you know, I
wouldn't be the first time an incumbent was a little out of the loop. No,
I don't think you're out of the loop. I think you support who you believe, and you support what you believe, and there's relationships there. And I think that, and I said this earlier, when I ran for mayor, I had a lot of endorsements. It's not the endorsements that win it for you. It's the candidate, it's the campaign, it's the people that vote for you. And, you know, and you can't, as an endorser, you can't bring people over the finish line.
Yeah. All right, we'll take our break, and we'll continue our conversation with Boston Mayor Marty Walsh in just a moment. Stay with us.